Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Klishtakarine Namo Vedanta Vedyaya Gurave Buddhisakshine. So the next shloka, aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, not hṛṣīkeśaḥ, hṛṣīkeśaḥ, because in English we write hṛṣīkeśaḥ, but it's HR, okay? aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, padmanābho'maraprabhuḥ, 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 aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, padmanābho'maraprabhuḥ, aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, padmanābho'maraprabhuḥ. Okay. Viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā. Next is sthaviṣṭhaḥ, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, sthavirah, dhruvaḥ, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ. Viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ, viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ. From the beginning. Aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, padmanābho'maraprabhuḥ, viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ. Aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, padmanābho'maraprabhuḥ, viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ. Once more. Aprameyo hṛṣīkeśaḥ, padmanābho'maraprabhuḥ, viśvakarmā manustvaṣṭā, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, dhruvaḥ. The names here are aprameyo, hṛṣīkeśaḥ, padmanābhoḥ, amaraprabhuḥ. That's an interesting name. Amaraprabhuḥ Viśvakarmā. 5. Manuhu, Tvashta, sthaviṣṭhaḥ, sthavirah, dhruvaḥ. That's one name. Sthavirah, dhruvaḥ is one name. 4. So 4 plus 9, 5, 9. So why Amaraprabhuḥ is interesting is some people read it as Maraprabhuḥ. We'll come to that later. Okay. So there are 9 names here. First name is aprameyo. It's a very important, interesting name. Aprameyo. Okay. Aprameyo. Prameya means object of. Some prameya means object. Aprameya not an object. That's all. Okay. Simple. Let's simplify. Now, simplification is good, but oversimplification is very bad. Because here, aprameya, this to explain this, Parashara Bhatta shows us his stupidity there by saying, karanaihi pramatum ashakyam. Karanaihi pramatum ashakyam. I am saying stupidity. I have not used such a harsh word for Parashara Bhatta yet. Here he says, karanaihi pramatum ashakyam. You cannot use your sense organs. Karana is sense in this in the idea of sense organs, he says. If he says karana as instruments, then it's fine. You cannot understand it through the instruments of knowledge. It's fine. But he says karanaihi pramatum ashakyam. This in the sense of sense organs, he says. The problem here is, this is a misconception or misunderstanding of pramana. He is going against, if this is how it is interpreted by the tradition, their tradition, then he is going against his own tradition, his own philosophy. We'll understand that later. Now, Bhagavan Bhashyakara says, pratyakṣādi pramāna, pratyakṣādi agocharattam. That is what is a aprameya. He is not directly saying it, but he is bringing the pratyaksha etc. pramanas. So I'll say, pratyakṣādi agocharattam, that which is not gained through pratyaksha etc. pramanas. Okay. So, aprameyaha ends in akara. Therefore, the fourth case will be aya. Aprameyaya. Okay. Namavali is Om Aprameyaya Namaha. Om Aprameyaya Namaha. Om Aprameyaya Namaha. Okay. Very good. Now, before venturing into the bhashya, we have to understand what we are going to enter in the ground rules. Aprameya means prameya, not aprameya. What is prameya? Prameya means object. There are three things, the Trinities, Holy Trinity. Here in Shastra, the Holy Trinity is Pramata, the knower, Pramana, the means of knowledge, and Prameya, the object of knowledge. Okay, Prameya means the object of knowledge. Instead of saying it as object, we will say object of knowledge. So there is object of knowledge, then there is a knower. We are not talking about them. The prameya can be, because it's object of knowledge, it can be understood only through the means of right knowledge. I'm not saying means of knowledge because there is a misconception again. In Tarka Shastra, the definition which we give for pramana is pramana. For pramana, this is the definition. Pramayaha karanam pramanam. Karanam means instrument. Pramayaha means for the right knowledge. Because knowledge is divided into two parts. There are two types of knowledge, two kinds of knowledge. One is yathartha jnanam. Jnanam dvidham. Yathartham ayathartham cha. Right knowledge and erroneous knowledge. There are two kinds of knowledge. Okay. One is right knowledge. The other is erroneous knowledge. Right knowledge is called as prama. Prama. Wrong knowledge, erroneous knowledge is called as bhrama. Bhrama. Prama, bhrama. Okay. Now, this is the difference. So, if you say only knowledge, then it can go to the wrong knowledge. The definition will go to the wrong knowledge, which is an error in logic. Definition should not overshoot. It should have to fit only in the for which you are defining, whatever you are defining. Okay. Now, Pramayaha karanam, for the right knowledge, instrument. Instrument means for right knowledge is a pramana. Okay. Now, through this pramana, you understand the prameya, the object of knowledge. What is this pramana? What is this means of right knowledge? So, different people, different philosophies accept different things as a right knowledge. Without defining the means, if you are going to talk about a philosophy, then it is a dogma, it is not philosophy. Okay? Philosophy means all these settings should be there. How do you understand? What is the means, etc.? Now, the means for understanding this by the logic, the charvakas, the materialistic people, that's how it is interpreted. Charvakas are materialistic people. They accept only pratyaksha, the direct perception, to be the proof, means of right knowledge. I see, therefore it exists. If I don't see, it doesn't exist. God, I don't see, therefore he does not exist. Over. That is how he lives. Heaven, hell, I don't see, it doesn't exist. Whatever I see exists. Whatever I don't see does not exist. That is how he says. And the refined charvakas, the refined materialist people, use inference also. They accept inference. This is second pramana, anumana, inference. Then there are people who accept a comparison, upamana, as another pramana. Some people as shabda, verbal testimony, as another pramana. Some people use arthapatti, postulation, as another pramana. Some people accept anupalabdhi, absence, as another pramana. Some people accept Puranas, mythological text, as another pramana. Some people accept the Itihasa, the historical text, as another pramana. Some people accept the Agamas as another pramana, etc. There are so many people accepting so many things. We follow 6 pramanas. That is what the Bhatta school of Purvamamsa accepts. That is why we are nicknamed Vyavahare Bhattaha. In the transactional reality, we follow the school of Bhatta. That is how we are nicknamed. We are happy with that. We are not against it. It's okay. That's true. So, this 6 pramanas, pratyaksha, anumana, upamana, arthapatti, shabda, anupalabdhi. Okay. Pratyaksha, direct perception, pratyaksha, anumana, inference, upamana, comparison, shabda, verbal testing, arthapatti, postulation, anupalabdhi, absence. These are the 6 pramanas we accept. The other school, which is the Parashara Bhatta school, they say also we are teaching Vedanta, but I don't even accept that as Vedanta. I already said that. So whatever it is, so they also accept these 6 pramanas. Now he says Karanihi through the sense organs, then that is complete misconception. Okay. Now that is why I said he does not understand his own philosophy, or he is not qualified to write anything like this. If it is Karani, he is instruments. And that is how he ends in the that commentary. It's a small commentary. Bhagavan Bhashyakara writes a little elaborate commentary here instead of one-liners, because this is a very important name. Okay. So we understood what is a Pramata, the knower, Pramana, the means of right knowledge, Prameya, the object of knowledge. Okay. Now, Bhashya. śabdādirahitatvānna pratyaksha gamyaḥ. Pratyaksha pramana, direct perception, is negated because the self, Brahman, is not an object of direct perception because it does not have sound, etc. śabdādirahitatvānna, it is devoid of sound, etc. Therefore, it is not gained through direct perception. You understand what is direct perception? Direct perception, pratyaksha, is defined as by the logicians. It is defined as indriya, artha, sannikarsha, janyam, jnanam, pratyaksham. Indriya, sense organ, artha, sense object. When they meet, the knowledge that janya arises from this is that knowledge that arises from this is pratyaksha. The knowledge which is generated by the sense organ, sense object contact is called as a pratyaksha. Generated, arise. Use this, remember this word, generated. Okay. Now, we don't accept the self to be an object of pratyaksha. Why? Because self is Brahman is nirguna, niravayava. Brahman is attributeless, nirguna. Brahman is niravayava, partless. Since it is nirguna, without any attributes of sound, etc., it cannot be grasped through the sense organs. Sound, etc., not form, etc. We said sound, etc. Why do you say sound, etc.? Because the Atmana Akasha Sambhuta, the first thing which came into existence from the self is Akasha. And Shabda Gunakam Akasham. Akasha, ether, has as its nature, as its attribute, the Shabda. That is why it starts with Shabda. Now, you cannot grasp the self through the sound, etc., because it does not have sound, etc. Okay, if it is not through sense organs, there is another kind of pratyaksha. There are 2 kinds of pratyaksha: indriya pratyaksha, manasa pratyaksha. Sometimes you meditate and you see things in your mind. That is also pratyaksha, right? So why not manasa pratyaksha? Why not a mental visualization or mental grasping it through mind? That is also not possible, because what is pratyaksha? What is the definition of pratyaksha? Remember, generated knowledge. Knowledge when the sense organ or the mind, when it meets the sense object, the knowledge that is generated. That is the key word I said. This self is not something which is generated. Why? Because self is a swaprakasha, swatasiddha, bhuta vishaya. Swaprakasha means self-effulgent. Swatasiddha means ever-existent. Bhuta vishaya means again ever-existence. Siddha vishaya. It is eternal. Something which exists eternal cannot be generated through the association of two things. That is why Shruti says, Yato vacho nivartante aprameyo yataha vachaha nivartante, from where the words turn back. Aprapya, without gaining. Manasasa, along with the mind. From where the mind and the words return back without grasping. That is the nature of self. The words cannot grasp it. The mind cannot grasp it. So it is not an object of pratyaksha. Over. Next. Nāpyanumānaviṣayaḥ. It is not also gained through inference. Anumana. Why? Tadvinānupapadyamānasyāsambhavāt linga abhavat. There is no vyapti or linga. Vyapti means concomitance. Vyapti means concomitance. Sahacharya niyamo vyapti. That is the definition for vyapti. Sahacharya niyama means continuous coexistence. See, you go to the kitchen, you see there is smoke, then you blow some air and then remove the amplify the fire. There is no smoke. You understand the relationship. Since there is fire, there is smoke. That is why you can amplify it. Then you come to the puja room. You see the agarbatti burning, incense stick burning, or the camphor burning. You see smoke. You understand there is fire. Then you go out. You see the when you burn all the waste materials, then you see the smoke, fire. So you understand there is a coexistence. Knowledge of coexistence is gained. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. That is the coexistence. That's called as vyapti. Yatra yatra dhruvaḥ tatra tatra vannihi. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So you understand the smoke, the coexistence of smoke and fire. Now, when you see on the mountain smoke, you don't see the fire, but you see the smoke. Since you have the coexistence, you see the smoke, you understand the relationship. Therefore, you say there is fire underneath. So, to understand, you need to gain the inferential knowledge, you have to gain a coexistence first. Next is linga. Linga means, linga is a word which is used for Shiva Linga. Then linga is used in the Hindi, etc. Hindi, Sanskrit also. Linga is a word because pullinga, strilinga, etc. Masculine, gender, feminine, gender, linga, gender. So, therefore, linga is a word which is used for the genitals. Okay, mostly the male genitals. Now, linga is neither here. Linga means linam artham gamayati iti lingam. That which points out to the hidden truth. That is what is linga. Whatever is hidden, that which points out to that is hidden. Linga. Linga means pointer. Simply put, linga means pointer here. So, there is no concomitance, there is no pointer knowledge. Like the smoke is the pointer to find out the fire. So, you cannot understand it through inference. But wait, there is another inference called Karyalingaka Anumanam. Karyalingaka Anumanam means you don't need to have the knowledge of pointer immediately. You don't need to have the vyapti, but still you understand it through the effect. Like you come to a house, dilapidated house, and it is black. You look, it is black. So you understand if the house is intact, you understand that this black is because only in this room there is blackness. Therefore, you say that they probably performed the fire oblations in this room. Okay. Or if the whole house is black, then you understand this house was burnt. So there was a fire in this house. That is why it is black everywhere. You don't see the smoke, you don't see the fire, but you infer that using the leftover effect. So that effect, karya, taking that as a pointer, linga, when you do the inference, that is called as karya linga anumana. Okay. Now, I can do this karya linga anumana. If someone says, okay, let us try. How do you do that? Whatever is an effect has the self as the cause. That is the first way of establishing the karya anumana. Or whatever is an effect has to have a cause. That's the second way of interpreting. That is the second way of inference. So first way of inference is whatever effect has Brahman as its cause. Now that is impossible to establish because there is no concomitance to understand the connectivity between Brahman, because Brahman is attributeless, we have already said. Therefore, you cannot find the concomitance. Therefore, you cannot say that Brahman is the cause. That is impossible. So, because it is not an object of sense organ, Brahman is not an object of sense organ, therefore you cannot say this is a effect of Brahman. No. Okay. Second, what is the second inference? Whatever is an effect has to have a cause. Okay, good. I accept. That we have established. No, wait. I accept the logic, but not what you want to establish. What does that mean? Whatever is an effect has to have a cause. Yes, we understand. But that cause is self. You have not established yet. So, this establishes, you cannot use inference to establish the self. Okay. Then, nāpyupamānasiddhaḥ. Upamana means comparison. It cannot be, the self cannot be established through comparison also. Why? Nirbhāgatvena, sādṛśyābhāvāt. Upamana. Let us understand what upamana, comparison is. Comparison, the example given in the Tarka to explain a comparison is a fellow from city has not seen an oxen. He is venturing into the forest. So the fellow in the forest, he says the forest guard or the person in the forest who always goes to that forest, he says, okay, he warns him. There is oxen there. Be careful of oxen. Oxen? What does that mean? Is it a reptile? No. Bird? No. What is an oxen? Oxen is like your cow. You know cow, buffalo? Yes. Similar to your cow or buffalo, you can see an entity. That animal is called as oxen. Be aware of it. No, I don't know what an oxen is, but I know what a cow is. So he shows a similarity between the cow and oxen. When I go to the forest, deep inside the forest, not like here, like even here, next to the road, there is forest. So people, what these fellows here in locals, they do is they leave the cows, 10 or 20 cows in the forest and come back. They leave it for a particular period, like 1 month, 2 months, something. When they start becoming pregnant or something, they bring it back and enjoy the fruits. So we are not deep inside the forest. Deep inside the forest, there is no possibility of any cow to enter. So you see a cow object, kind of cow, an animal similar to cow, then you remember, oh, that forest god or that forest man said, this is what he said, this is oxen. So this cow, this oxen is similar to my cow, therefore this is oxen. You understand the similarity. Through the similarity comparison, you understand. So here you cannot use the similarity or comparison. Why? Because nirbhāgatvena, bhaga means parts, avayava. Since the self is without avayava, parts, limbs. nirgunatvena, it does not have attributes. Since self does not have any attributes to compare, since self does not have any limbs, parts to compare, there can be no comparison possible. Okay. Nāpyarthāpattigrāhyaḥ. Arthapatti pramana. Postulation. Postulation also it cannot be used. Tadvinānupadyamānasyāsambhavāt. What is postulation? There are two types of postulation. One is shrutarthapatti, the other is drishtarthapatti. This is what is explained in the postulation. Shrutarthapatti, you go knock a house. This lady of the house, she opens the door, and you see the auspicious symbols, signs, like she having a kumkum, vermilion in her forehead, having a flower in her head, having the Mangal Sutra, something, or having a ring in the finger. Now you see all that, whatever that is, whatever shows that she is married. You see all that, and you ask, is the husband there? You say, he is gone. You don't understand, misinterpret that he is gone means he is dead. Seeing all these signs, you understand he is away from the house. He has gone from the house. You didn't see, there is no sign of the husband. You only see this lady. There is nothing to point out to the husband. That is why it is not accepted as inference. It's kind of inference, but not an inference. The logicians accept it as inference. We don't accept it as inference because there is nothing, there is no direct pointer to the husband. Okay, so that is shrutarthapatti. There is drishtarthapatti, postulation through perception, through seeing, which is you see this man, Devadatta or whatever his name is, you see him, he is healthy and fat or whatever, but throughout the day he is not eating anything. How can a person be healthy or fat without eating anything? So you understand, you postulate, not infer, you postulate, because you don't see him eating. Or is there any residue of food, like wasted food, or the skin of the peeled skin of banana, or the pistachio, the broken shells of the pistachio? You don't see any of that. But you see him hale and healthy. Therefore, you infer, postulate that he eats in the night. This is drishtarthapatti. Now, here there is no postulation possible, because without the self, nothing can exist. A karya can exist without a karana, maybe. But nothing can exist without the self, because self is that which gives everything existence and experience nature. So without self, nothing can exist. That way it says tadvina, without the self, aprameyo, nothing can be impossible. You cannot show something to be non-existent. So only when there is a non-existent idea, you can see the existence idea. Therefore, to postulate, you need to have both existence and non-existence, right? There is nothing possible for establishing its non-existence, because nothing can exist without self. So postulation is also impossible. We'll see this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.